something. Okay, so this next story that I want to talk about today, it's about, I mean, here's the title. Republicans embarrassing realize their anti-pronoun policy is a confusing waste of time. So I just spotted this the other day in the news, watched the video, and kind of thought, oh, okay, yeah. So I just wanted to share it with you. Let me see if I can put on the full screen here. So this is the story. Let me see if I can show you more. I don't know. There is a video in this, and I'd like to share the video with you. But I might talk about it first. Later. I might subscribe later to that. Don't forget this. Oh, yeah, the video's down here. So I will share this video. But let's just talk about it first, and then I'll move on to the video. Okay, so what's it about? So the House Republicans tried to push an amendment banning State Department employees and contractors from using gender pronouns in professional material, like email signatures and business cards. Okay, so they wanted to stop using gendered pronouns, so like him, her, hers. Yeah. Okay. Now, why did they want to do that? I think probably because, like, I guess to do with like trans people using pronouns for their self. Now I'll be careful with these names, but anyway, Republican. So it was Sarah Jacobs, DCA, and Rep. Brad Schilner. Okay, I try my best. So DIL challenged the amendment in committee. Jacobs pointed out that it would violate free expression and create confusion, especially with gender-neutral names like Taylor, Shannon, or Lindsay. Okay. Schilner highlighted the amendment's contradictions by asking if titles like Mr., Mrs., His Excellency, and Her Excellency, I can't say it, Excellency, you know what I'm saying, I don't know what women, would also be banned. All right. The amendment sponsor, Rep. Keith Shelf, R. Texas, TX, I presume that's Texas, yeah, admitted Jacobs was correct that his proposal didn't make sense. Okay. Well, I think I could have told you that before. It wouldn't work. Republicans ended up withdrawing the amendment after realizing it would cause serious problems in diplomatic and professional context. Jacobs later posted the exchange online, framing it as proof that the GOP hadn't thought through the consequences of their anti-pronoun push. Okay, so I'm going to watch that a little bit of that video now. So yeah, so they put down this. They wanted to get out like his and hers and stuff, but like I said, His Excellency, Her Excellency. I don't know why I can't pronounce it today. They wanted to get rid of those. But the thing is, it would cause confusion, and also we've got gender neutral names. If you don't have his and hers on it, you wouldn't know who they were. So sometimes you need to have these. Well, you need to have them still. We still need pronouns. So let's watch a little bit of this.
But you just said it's only if you use the wrong pronoun, so that's not actually accurate.
That's correct. You're absolutely correct. Thank you for that, Ms. Jacobs.
I rise in opposition to this amendment. This is a radical infringement on State Department employees' freedom of speech and expression, denying individuals the ability to accurately reflect their preferred pronouns and avoid the stigma and embarrassment associated with being misgendered in a professional setting. Heaven forbid people know who they're communicating with over email when face-to-face conversations aren't possible. We'll let the Taylors and Shannons and Lindsays of the world and anyone else go misgendered for the sake of my Republican colleagues' feelings. So frankly, this amendment is an embarrassing use of this committee's time when we have so many other pressing issues to address. I'm ashamed we're even having to talk about it. I hope all of my colleagues vote against this, and I yield back.
You gentleman is recognized.
The question I would ask is, if I were to have on my business card, Mr. Brad Schneider, is that prohibited by this amendment?
Yeah, no, because actually, sometimes people use the pronouns, and that's why this is here incorrectly. Gender is immutable. So the Mr. and Mrs. used improperly with what their natural sex would be under this rule.
Brad, will you yield again?
Yes.
So in my email signature, I, Sarah Jacobs, have she, her. Those are my pronouns. But under your amendment, this would also not be allowed.
Right.
But you just said it's only if you use the wrong pronoun, so that's not actually accurate.
Correct.
That's correct. You're absolutely correct. Thank you for that, Ms. Jacobs.
Anytime. Brad, back to you.
All right, let me just, I'll ask another one. Our ambassadors have a title that are often His Excellency or Her Excellency. Would that be prohibited on their business card?
It would not be. This
says the Secretary of State shall prohibit the use of gender pronouns on business cards, email signatures, or any other professional identity elements across the Department of State by employees, contractors, and other officials of the State Department. That would clearly prohibit the use of Mr. or Ms. or Mrs. It would prohibit the use of His Excellency. I think this amendment is going to cause a whole lot of problems across the State Department. I yield back.
I think you're rightfully stating something. I believe this is a serious conversation, as I opened up in my remarks. But my request for the author of it would be to withdraw this amendment. You ask unanimous consent to withdraw?
I did.
Without objection, so ordered.
Right. Okay. So, as you can see from that video, yeah, they put forward a proposal to erase the pronouns for gender pronouns. Obviously, they said, as he said it, the what was his name? Keith Self. Okay, whatever his name is. The Texas Republican. He was saying that it was because it could be misused by obviously like trans people and stuff like that. Using I would be misusing it, according to him. So that's what he was seeing it. But the fact is, if you erase gender pronouns, it's going to be a problem because ones when you do need it for like certain names and things like that. So really, the idea of it doesn't make sense at all. Now, let me just finish off this story here. So why does it matter? Free speech issues, like ironically, the amendment would have restricted workers' freedom of expression instead of protecting it. It also creates confusion. It removes pronouns, would make professional communication harder, especially in international diplomacy, where clarity is essential. So a culture war distraction shows how much time Congress spends debating symbolic culture war issues rather than focusing on pressing global or diplomatic problems. Exactly. It's an absolute waste of time. This bill and everything that we're trying to do is absolutely wasted everybody's time. And then Republican contradictions highlights tension within the GOP between hardline anti-LGBTQ plus stances and the practical needs of the government's institution. Yeah, it's absolutely pointless to do this. It's been a total waste of time, and it's unworkable. If you do it, you're gonna just cause more problems. You're gonna make it more difficult for people to do things in work, and it takes away people's freedom of expression. So in the UK, there's an ongoing debate in British politics about pronoun policy in schools and workplaces, with some right-wing figures pushing back against inclusive policies, framing them as ideology rather than practical. Yeah, so I know in the UK we've got loads of different groups trying to get rid of the use of pronouns for, like, especially for, because of trans people. They want to do that. Reform, the UK party that for Reform have already said that they want to make it so that trans people can't use pronouns in public spaces in the future. They want to eradicate that. Canada, Conservative leader Perry Polliver has echoed similar rhetoric, opposing what he calls woke pronoun policy, though Canada's workplaces and schools generally support pronoun use. Yeah, I know Canada is pretty more acceptant for trans people, but of course there is always voices that are, obviously don't agree with that stance. In Europe, several EU countries actively encourage pronoun use in governments and amendments. For example, Sweden has widely accepted the gender neutral pronoun hen. So Sweden's gone one further and actually, now allowed pronouns that are new pronouns to be able to express. Global diplomacy. In international relations, accurate titles and pronouns matter for respect and protocol. Banning them would create unnecessary diplomatic burdens. Well, what happens if you have a diplomat in Sweden that uses hen, and they go to America, and in America they say, oh, well, we don't have those pronouns, or we don't use those pronouns? How does that work? That's an interesting kind of concept as well. We've got countries that are going forward, but we've got all these countries that are going backwards. And how does that work? When we have pronouns, what happens if you're a trans woman, but you're a politician, and you use her pronouns, her and she and everything? What happens when you go to a country that doesn't respect that? Do they start using he? And then there is your diplomacy there, where it's like disrespecting a political figure from another country. It's not really a good look, is it? So trends across Western democracy, right-wing parties often attack pronouns as part of a broader anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ plus agenda. But these moves frequently backfire because they create bureaucracy, headaches, and appear petty to the general public. Yeah. And I think that's it as well. I think most people do see it as petty, do see it as a waste of time, and understand. And I think that video there demonstrates about how much of a waste of time and problems that it causes. I wanted to share this with you all because I think that it is important to see these things and to call them out when you do see them. So you feel free to let me know in the comments what you think about this, and because I'd be interested to see what you think about what they're doing now in these situations. And pronouns, come on, just let people be.